On a crisp morning in early 2025, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, known to the world as AOC, opened her phone to a notification that sent shockwaves through her life. CNN's headline blared like an alarm: Senator John Neely Kennedy sues Representative AOC for $80 million over defamation. The youngest congresswoman in U.S. history, a fiery icon of democratic socialism, and a social media juggernaut with millions of followers, AOC had built her career on bold speeches, progressive policies, and an unapologetic willingness to confront power. Yet, this time, her confrontational style had provoked a legal storm that threatened to dismantle everything she'd worked for. The lawsuit, filed by Louisiana Senator John Neely Kennedy, wasn't just a legal challenge, it was a calculated strike aimed at her reputation, finances, and the very foundation of her political identity. What began as a routine Instagram live session had spiraled into a defining moment in AOC's controversial journey, exposing the risks of unchecked rhetoric in a polarized digital age and reshaping the landscape of American politics. The trouble started 3 weeks earlier during one of AOC's signature Instagram live streams. With over 200,000 viewers tuned in, she spoke passionately about clean energy, a cornerstone of her progressive agenda. When a viewer asked why critical clean energy bills were stalling in the Senate, AOC didn't hesitate to point fingers. "Look at people like Senator Kennedy," she declared, her voice sharp, her hands slicing through the air. "He keeps blocking policies to protect our planet. Why? Because his pockets are stuffed with oil tycoon dollars. This isn't politics, it's blatant corruption." She paused for effect, raising an eyebrow. The people deserve the truth. Who is Kennedy serving? Not them, but the billionaires wrecking the environment. She ended with a biting jab: maybe he should rename himself Senator Big Oil. The comments section erupted with support, preach, and drag him. As her fans, from young activists to progressive influencers, cheered her for calling out corruption. To AOC, this was just another day of connecting with her base, rallying young voters with the unfiltered style that had made her a star. But her words, delivered with conviction, carried weighty consequences she hadn't anticipated. John Neely Kennedy, a seasoned senator from Louisiana, was no stranger to political sparring. A former lawyer educated at Vanderbilt and Oxford, Kennedy had built a reputation as a sharp conservative with a folksy charm that endeared him to voters. Known for his loyalty to Donald Trump and his knack for delivering veiled, razor-sharp quips, he was a formidable figure in Republican circles. Watching AOC's livestream from his Baton Rouge office, Kennedy remained calm, his eyes narrowing as he processed her accusations. Unlike AOC, whose power stemmed from viral moments and social media clout, Kennedy operated with the precision of a legal strategist. He knew her claims of oil tycoon dollars and corruption weren't just political jabs, they were unsubstantiated allegations that could be weaponized in a courtroom. The next day, he stood before oil workers at a Shreveport factory, his tucked-out shirt and slight smile masking a steely resolve. "I've worked my whole life to serve the people," he said. "But a congresswoman from New York thinks she can smear me with lies. I'm not angry, I just want the truth to come out, and the law will do that." With those words, he announced his $80 million defamation lawsuit against AOC, setting off a media firestorm. The media reaction was instantaneous. Fox News ran with AOC sued for slandering Senator Kennedy, painting her as an reckless agitator, while MSNBC defended her, framing her comments as criticism of Kennedy's energy policies. Social media exploded with hashtags like #AOCSUed and #KennedyAOC, as supporters and critics clashed online. AOC, accustomed to navigating social media drama, initially brushed off the lawsuit, tweeting, "Republicans want to silence me for daring to speak the truth about dirty money in politics. I'm not scared." The post garnered tens of thousands of likes, but it also drew sharp criticism from conservative accounts accusing her of recklessness. Unbeknownst to AOC, Kennedy's legal team was preparing a devastating blow. A leaked internal email from her own team, sent by a disgruntled former staffer, would soon append her defense and change the trajectory of the case. The $80 million lawsuit was formally filed in federal court, its 60-page complaint outlining defamation charges with surgical precision. Kennedy's legal team, led by a veteran attorney with a track record against media giants, argued that AOC's livestream statements were not only false but deliberately malicious, intended to ruin Kennedy's reputation. The bombshell came in the form of the leaked email, which became the lawsuit's centerpiece. In it, AOC had written to a communications advisor, "Kennedy is obstructing the future of clean energy. We need to discredit him before he does more damage. Find any information, true or not, to make him look like he's selling out Louisiana." The phrase "true or not" was a gift to Kennedy's team, providing evidence of actual malice, a critical requirement for winning a defamation case against a public figure. When the email surfaced, the media went into overdrive. Fox News branded AOC a liar unmasked, while Breitbart accused her of abusing her platform to spread falsehoods. Even CNN and MSNBC, typically sympathetic to AOC, treaded carefully. A CNN analyst noted, "If this email is real, AOC has put herself in a dangerous position. True or not is a gift to Kennedy's team." AOC's Capitol Hill office became a pressure cooker. The walls, adorned with campaign posters and rally photos, now felt like reminders of a fading glory. She had faced countless attacks before, mockery of her bartender background, personal insults on social media, but this was different. The leaked email was a blindsiding betrayal, allegedly from someone within her inner circle. Her team convened urgently, debating whether to issue a public apology or double down. AOC, driven by her unyielding nature, chose defiance. In a lengthy Twitter thread, she claimed the email was cherry-picked and distorted, writing, "Republicans are trying to silence me for exposing the truth about dirty money in politics. I won't back down." Her supporters rallied, but legal analysts warned she was digging herself deeper. A former prosecutor on MSNBC remarked, "She's turning a legal issue into a political fight, and that's a mistake." Meanwhile, Kennedy seized the moment, appearing at a New Orleans event with a calm smile and a sharp message, "I hold no grudge against Ms. Ocasio Cortez, but when you spread lies to destroy someone's reputation, you must be held accountable. In Louisiana, we call that justice." The crowd roared, and the clip spread across conservative platforms like Rumble and Truth Social. The fallout extended beyond AOC's inner circle. She had expected the Democratic Party, especially its progressive wing, to rally behind her, but the response was tepid. Senior leaders like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer kept their distance. In a Financial Services Committee meeting, Pelosi mentioned the lawsuit only in passing, focusing instead on party priorities. Schumer, when pressed by reporters, said, "The matter will be resolved through the proper legal process." Their silence stung, signaling that AOC was becoming a liability. Even progressive allies like Bernie Sanders and Ilhan Omar offered vague support, with Sanders tweeting about the need for debates based on facts and Omar posting about unity without mentioning AOC. Rashida Tlaib, typically outspoken, dodged questions about the lawsuit at a Michigan event. The sense of abandonment was palpable, a stark contrast to the solidarity AOC had once inspired. On social media, where AOC had long reigned supreme, her invincible image began to crack. Progressive influencers split into two camps. Some defended her, calling the lawsuit a Republican stunt, while others, especially on TikTok, criticized her recklessness. A viral video from a young activist with 2 million views analyzed the leaked email, asking, "AOC is our icon, but why did she let herself fall into this trap?" Comments like "she needs to apologize" and "too arrogant" gained traction, eroding her support base. AOC tried to regain control with another live stream, sitting in front of a bookshelf filled with social justice books, wearing a "Tax the Rich" t-shirt. "This lawsuit isn't about me," she said, her voice resolute but trembling. "It's about Republicans trying to crush anyone who challenges the system." But the response was mixed. Live comments demanded proof of Kennedy's corruption or an apology, and even loyal fans expressed doubt. A CNN analyst later remarked, "She's trying to spin a legal issue into a political narrative, but the public isn't buying it." The betrayal wasn't limited to politics or social media. Within AOC's team, discontent simmered. A senior aide, who had once crafted her viral Twitter posts, leaked to the press that the team had warned AOC against making unproven allegations. She was too confident in her social media power, the aide said. The claim, picked up by The Hill and Politico, added fuel to the narrative that AOC's hubris had led to her downfall. Meanwhile, Kennedy's team bolstered their case with a supplemental filing, revealing additional messages from AOC's team discussing plans to amplify the Kennedy story for media attention. Though not directly from AOC, these messages reinforce the impression of a deliberate smear campaign. Conservative media seized the moment, creating memes comparing AOC to movie villains with captions like, "When you try to be a hero but shoot yourself in the foot." AOC's personal life began to unravel under the strain. Tabloid reporters hounded her family in the Bronx, forcing her mother, Blanca, to keep curtains drawn and doors locked. Paparazzi camped outside their home, snapping photos of mundane activities like taking out the trash. In a video call, AOC apologized to her mother for dragging the family into the mess, her eyes welling up. Blanca offered a sad smile, urging her to be careful. To protect her family, AOC hired private security, a costly necessity that compounded her financial woes. Legal fees, already exceeding $1.5 million, forced her to sell her small Washington apartment and move to a cheaper rental, a painful step back for someone who had symbolized working-class resilience. Financial advisors warned that even a fraction of the $80 million judgment could bankrupt her, a prospect that left her feeling suffocated. Kennedy, by contrast, was riding a wave of triumph. His legal team secured a significant victory when a federal judge denied AOC's motion to dismiss the lawsuit, citing the leaked email as evidence of potential malice. Conservative media outlets like Fox News and The Daily Caller celebrated, with headlines proclaiming court deals major blow to AOC and Kennedy nears legal victory. Kennedy leveraged the momentum, appearing on Sean Hannity's radio show to share his journey from a small-town Louisiana lawyer to a senator fighting for truth. "When you use your platform to spread falsehoods, you face consequences," he said, his voice gentle but firm. The quote resonated across Truth Social and Rumble, where users hailed him as a hero. Republican allies like Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell praised Kennedy, framing the lawsuit as a stand against irresponsible progressivism. At a Lake Charles oil refinery, Kennedy stood among workers, declaring, "Ms. Ocasio Cortez wants to say I'm selling out the people, but it's the folks here, the hard-working men and women, why I fight." The image solidified his image as a defender of the working class. The lawsuit's ripple effects reshaped American politics. For AOC, the consequences were devastating. To ease pressure, she stepped down from her leadership role on the House Financial Services Committee, announcing on Instagram, "I need time to focus on my constituents' priorities and address these legal challenges." Though framed positively, the move was seen as an admission of defeat. Political analysts called it the end of an era for AOC, once heralded as the future of progressivism. Her finances plummeted, with legal fees surpassing $2.5 million, forcing her to sell her Bronx apartment and borrow from friends. A Bloomberg analysis noted the irony: AOC, once a symbol of the working class, now faces the prospect of losing everything over a social media misstep. Conservative media, like the Daily Wire, mocked her fall, with headlines like "From Tax the Rich to Broke in Court, AOC's Journey." The progressive movement felt the impact. The lawsuit weakened AOC's image as an invincible leader, prompting young politicians and activists to rethink their social media strategies. Progressive groups like Sunrise Movement and Justice Democrats debated the risks of attacking opponents without evidence. A New York workshop for political influencers discussed the AOC lesson, with an organizer telling The Intercept, "She inspired us, but she's also a cautionary tale. Social media isn't a free-for-all." Kennedy, meanwhile, became a conservative hero, speaking at events like CPAC and raising millions for Republican candidates. A Wall Street Journal analysis remarked, "Kennedy turned a personal lawsuit into a political campaign, reinforcing that conservatives can win through the law." In Louisiana, oil workers called him our hero, celebrating his defense of their industry. Yet, the victory deepened political polarization. Observers worried the lawsuit set a precedent for politicians to weaponize litigation, stifling free debate. A New Yorker editorial warned, "When politicians sue over words, we lose space for discourse." Some voters questioned whether Kennedy had gone too far, turning a political dispute into a personal war. The lawsuit also changed how politicians approached social media. House members hired legal advisors to review posts, and a Washington consulting firm reported a 30% revenue increase from social media risk assessments. An anonymous Democratic senator told Politico, after AOC, no one wants to be the next one sued over a bad tweet. Even influencers began self-censoring, wary of legal repercussions. Internationally, the lawsuit drew attention. European outlets like The Guardian and Le Monde analyzed it as a sign of declining American political discourse, where courtroom battles replaced public debates. A British journalist wrote, "AOC and Kennedy are two sides of the same coin. Polarization has turned politics into an unforgiving game." In Latin America, activists who once saw AOC as an inspiration expressed disappointment. A Brazilian organizer said, "We admired her courage, but now she's a lesson in being careful with words." The $80 million lawsuit between John Neely Kennedy and Alexandria Ocasio Cortez left an indelible mark, serving as a cautionary tale about the power and pitfalls of words in the digital age. AOC, once a progressive torchbearer, became a symbol of failure when zeal crossed into recklessness. Her leaked email, revealing a directive to discredit Kennedy with potentially fabricated information, cost her reputation, finances, and allies. Kennedy, with his legal victory, solidified his image as a conservative strategist but deepened the divide between factions. The saga reflects broader tensions in American society: polarization, the influence of social media, and the consequences of careless speech. AOC's passion for clean energy was overshadowed by her unproven allegations, leading to $2.5 million in legal fees, potential bankruptcy, and a diminished political role. Kennedy's triumph, while a win for conservatives, fueled a toxic cycle of litigation over dialogue. The lesson for American life is clear: free speech demands responsibility. In a world where platforms amplify every word, individuals, politicians and citizens alike must verify information before sharing, prioritize facts over emotions, and respect opponents to avoid costly consequences. AOC's downfall reminds us that even the most solid reputations can crumble over a single misstep. Kennedy's victory, while strategic, underscores the need for dialogue over legal battles. As polarization grows, this story urges us to balance passion with accountability, lest we push ourselves into the lawsuits of life.